Hey, everybody. My name is Dave Sturchio, and you might know me as the host of Jersey Boys podcast with Brett Ernst and Keith Ernst, or you might know me from some of my writing on the Cowboys Wire and the NFL Analysis Network. But today, I'm Dave Sturchio, the person. Not that saying that I'm a writer and a podcaster makes me have an alter ego. I'm always 100% authentic. I think it's a good idea for myself to speak on behalf of a lot of people. I want to say maybe the common man. There's a lot of people out there right now who are listening who might need a voice of a smaller individual. There's a lot of people that spoke out yesterday as far as their problems and their history with anxiety or depression or any kind of mental illness or any kind of just overall just not well-being. I'm here to tell you that it happens in a lot more people than you think. In 2018, I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety due to my own actions, due to my own uh, unstable ways, due to uncertain futures, due to either job loss or not feeling like I was making it in my career of choice. Just different reasons to really kind of fall to rock bottom. There was many thoughts. I lost my best friend to suicide in 2007, right before I started an internship with the New York Giants. I know, me being the biggest Cowboy fan you probably know, uh, interning, doing whatever it took to make it in broadcasting right out of broadcasting school. But more or less, I've dealt with a lot of thoughts. I've dealt with this quarantine just like anybody else. I think this quarantine really shook people up, not just from a virus standpoint, but from a what's next standpoint. The feeling of uncertainty is very difficult, and the feeling of not knowing what's next makes things a lot harder to deal with. And that's coming from somebody like myself who's dealt with anxiety, who's dealt with depression. And I feel like there's not a lot of, I always say, and I always preach this way, you only get one life and you only get this, that, and the third, and you only get live it up. Here we go. Like trying to motivate and inspire people to live their lives to the fullest all the time. It's weird that I would record something like this on a day where the nation saw maybe its worst thing it's ever seen, 9/11, 2001. As I sit here with my shirt that says American Patriot, that's exactly what I am. But things dig deeper. 9/11 affected a lot more people than you think. Obviously, we remember those lost, and it's very unfortunate, and it's very heart-wrenching, even when you have to remember some of those people. I knew people in the towers, and I know a lot of my friends knew some people in the towers and in Washington and in Pennsylvania. We lost a lot of people, but it really scarred people for life, mentally and emotionally. And I think yesterday, and this is where I'm going with this, yesterday, look, we're all, if you're listening to the sound of my voice, you probably are a sports fan. I know when I was employed and I go back to work soon, very soon, Monday, in fact, as you're listening to this, I got one more weekend to kind of kick back and relax and watch some football. But on a more personal front, when I was working at work, in the background would always be Skip and Shannon, Undisputed on FS1. And I always kind of liked the show because I figured, like, you never knew what those two were going to say next. It was very outlandish. It was very unpredictable. It was very just overall just entertainment. I mean, and you know what? In the time frame they had, you could flip back and forth to ESPN, FS1, like NFL Network, like all of these platforms and all of these networks have all these morning shows where you just get your entertainment. Sometimes I got in trouble, just watching it too much, instead of doing my actual job. But more or less, Skip and Shannon Undisputed is hosted by Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp. And Shannon Sharp, to me, has always been very controversial when it comes to just kind of clapping back at anything that Skip Bayless has to say. 2 nights ago, I sat on my couch and I watched a 12 or 14-part series with Dak Prescott, the quarterback of my favorite team, the Dallas Cowboys, the banner you see in the back, the 5-time world champion Dallas Cowboys. Now, I grew up a Cowboys fan. Some would say I take this stuff way too seriously. And this is where I'm at right now. And I finally have the opportunity and the platform to not only write about my team, but to voice my opinion about the team. And it's really awesome. I mean, I know it sounds like a juvenile word to say, but it's just It's awesome, and I've been enjoying it. One thing I can say is in 2017, I was the first one to really bash Dak Prescott and his play. I thought that it was difficult to watch at times. You know, you obviously had the Zeke Elliott stuff going on. This was right after their magical first year where I was like, wow, this kid's the future. I had my opinions on Dak Prescott, and I voiced them on Twitter, and people have called me out like, oh, this is what you said. I know what I said. I know what I said about Dak Prescott as a quarterback and his talent level when he first started and when we had a very bad year in 2017. Um, but over time, I started to learn about Dak Prescott, the person, not so much the player. I think that he is one of the most inspirational people I've ever seen. The hat I'm wearing right now is a hat that I saw Dak Prescott wearing, and I said, I want the same hat that Dak Prescott has. That's how I felt when I was an 8-year-old kid saying, I want the same hat that Troy Aikman has. So Dak Prescott grew on me as a person, not as a football player. Yeah, sure. Was his performances even better going forward? Yeah, he improved as a football player. But more importantly, he improved as a man. He grew up as a man. He's younger than me, obviously, and I always refer to him as a kid. Anybody younger than 35 to me is a kid now. But I truly believe that Dak Prescott as the man is the leader and is the future of the team that I love, that some of the people on Twitter love. And I truly feel that he is an inspiration to everybody. And just a couple nights ago, the 12-part series that came out, he addressed that in the beginning of this pandemic, he was dealing with depression and anxiety and these new feelings of the unknown. And then his brother took his own life. So you compile all that, and it's too much for any man to handle. But it's more brave and it's more of a leader to step up to the plate and say, this is what I was dealing with. Yeah, I made $30+ million for this year and this year alone, which is more money than anybody watching this right now, unless you're Patrick Mahomes watching this, which you probably aren't watching this or listening to this. He makes more money than any of us. Yet money does not buy your happiness. Money does not control your mind. Money is, yes, it's a luxury. It's exactly what it is. You get to buy what you want. You get to do what you want. You get to take care of those who you want in any way possible. But Dak Prescott addressed the fact that he was dealing with depression. 2018, I did the same thing. I seeked help and I got it. I looked for help. I looked for an answer and I got it. I started to think more clearly. I started to think that this world might be a little bit more beneficial if I'm still around, because of those thoughts that crossed my mind that were saying maybe this world would be better off if I wasn't around. And I said that to my significant other. I said that to friends and family, and they knew that this was time for me to address it and to tackle this head on, as a football term. And I did, and I got out of that hole, and I felt more positive than ever before. One of my favorite announcers on the pro wrestling circuit was Mauro Ranallo, and I watched Bipolar Rock and Roller. It was a special on Showtime about how he dealt with bipolar disorder. And I'm not saying I have bipolar disorder, and it's not a knock to say to anybody who does. I just think that there are many, many different ways to address a mental and emotional problem. And I did that. Dak Prescott did that. And for Skip Bayless to come out and basically say that there's no room for that when you're the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys because of the money, the fame, the leadership, the CEO, as he called him, was the reasoning why depression and anxiety should not creep up. And then today his apology was not sincere. His apology was backpedaling and also going forward and moving forward and saying and trying to deny what he said and try to flip his words. And I think that that's the most cowardly thing a man can do. Dak Prescott showed a lot of courage in layman's terms. He showed a lot of balls, to come out and say, yeah, I'm at the stature that I'm at, but I still am human and I still deal with the same stuff that everybody deals with. I'm one of those guys that you'll never know who I am. You'll never know me. I'm a nobody in the grand scheme of things, but I'm a somebody that dealt with this stuff. And I saw a lot of my colleagues and fellow writers and bigger time athletes and personalities all come out yesterday and say that they dealt with the same thing. I'd be a fraud if I said that I wasn't trying to be an advocate for mental health and mental health awareness. And I've been doing that for 2-3 years now. So the fact that, and on top of that, not to let you into my personal life, but I'm back in therapy. telehealth. I'm back talking to my therapist. Why? Nothing's changed. Other than the pandemic, which is pretty much what put me back there. If anything, my life is good. I'm a father of a beautiful, perfect 1 year old baby. I'm a brand new uncle. I have a great life at home. I'm going back to work. I have my sports back. I have everything that I can possibly want. But what I don't have is mental stability. What I don't have is the ability to, tackle the demons right away if they creep their ugly heads in. I don't have that ability. So that's why you seek therapy and you go to these places and you let them know the deal. If you're 1000% transparent with everything that's going on in your life, that's when it's most beneficial. And I say that, and in closing, I think that Skip Bayless, the apology is not going to come from somebody as narcissistic as Skip Bayless. It's not going to come. Uh, what I think FS1 needs to do is not issue some, fugazi apology where they come back and say, oh, we don't agree with it. Well, if you don't agree with it, then get rid of the problem. Skip Bayless has been hogging the microphone and hogging the spotlight for far too long now. He's stirred the pot way too many times. And this time, it's a very dangerous thing to do than to basically tell everybody that's struggling with any kind of mental illness or mental just weakness and call them out and spit in their face and say that they shouldn't be struggling with the things they're struggling with, regardless of stature. Dak Prescott is the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys, my favorite team, the team that I cover, the team that I talk about, the team that I hope to God wins a Super Bowl this year, the team that I want to see and hug my brother and my father in the biggest, tightest group hug ever when we see Dak Prescott win a Super Bowl. These are the things I want to see, and these are the things I want to experience. And now, more than ever before, I respect Dak Prescott because he spoke on behalf of all of us that are going through something. And just so you know, as you're listening to the sound of my voice, just so you know, you are worth it. And just so you know, no matter how hard this world gets, no matter how many flames you see develop in this world that's burning around us, whether it be racial injustice, whether it be blue and red, or who you're supporting in the election, all this stuff. It doesn't matter what race you are. It doesn't matter what sexual orientation you are. It doesn't matter. You know what matters? You, the person listening to this, the person seeing this right now. That's what matters. And I think that Dak Prescott gave everybody a portal and gave everybody a platform to speak up about this. Nobody's perfect. People make mistakes all the time. I am Mr. Mistake when it comes to screwing up in my past. But it's all about how you're defined right now. It's about how you address the future. It's about how you tackle your mental issues one day at a time. As you're watching this and you're reading this, or you're seeing this on any kind of social media platform or whatever, I'm not asking for a like. I'm not asking for a retweet. I'm just asking you to go look in the mirror and say, man, he's right. I'm worth it. I'm worth it. Now, I know, like I said, I'm nobody from anybody else, but I think that it was a good time to express how I feel as the common man, the guy who's not making millions of dollars, the guy who's not at the top of his craft, the guy who still strives for greatness every single day. I try to write and I try to grab attention, but I would never in a million years knock somebody for anything like this. What Skip Bayless did was wrong. It was heartless. It was gutless. He's a gutless maggot with no guts. And I think Skip Bayless needs to step down. And I think he needs to say goodbye to the world of media, because if you looked at his Twitter and he has millions of followers, he's not following anybody else. He's not following one person, not one. That goes to show you that that man is so consumed in his own thoughts that he doesn't want to show that he follows anybody because he wants to lead. And what he did was he led something. Oh, don't get it twisted. He led something yesterday. He led Cowboys Nation to rejoice together. Not just Cowboys Nation, but everybody who's been struggling, anybody who's ever experienced stuff like this. He led everybody to bind together and say, it's time to go, Skip. It's time to skip.